There comes a moment when you've exhausted all your options while simultaneously coming across a product that reinvents your notion about what an honest and high-quality company looks like. The Healing Rose was the catalyst to that very moment for me. The Healing Rose Company is a female-owned Massachusetts CBD company based out of Newburyport that prides themselves in using only the best USDA-certified organically sourced ingredients for their vast line of therapeutic products. Their line stretches from lip balms, tinctures, skin balms, roll-on oils, and bath products. Their transparency places them above the rest with third-party tested results showcasing their intolerance to toxic pesticides, solvents, metals, and harmful elements. They provide full-spectrum CBD in many of their products, excluding their tinctures, which carry a broad spectrum profile, ideal for not having to worry about any low-level THC, which is common for many CBD products. That one's my favorite, and it's good on the palate. Full spectrum means that they extract from the hemp plant an array of different therapeutic cannabinoids along with CBD and their profile terpenes. The combination results in a greater outcome of healing and relaxation for any individual's needs. Whether you are an athlete looking for any recovery advantage, a patient in need of some relief to remind yourself that you are still a warrior, or someone who sees the frontiers of life with a little reserve and want to calm the mental storms that keep you from personally exploring, the Healing Rose CBD Company is here for your full body and mind optimization. Please visit thehealingroseco.com to explore their diverse line of products and support one of New England's best rising stars in an industry where ethics are fundamental, and a company like this will only be found sitting at the throne of it all. Use the code SAGAS, S-A-G-A-S, for 10% off your purchase. Again, visit thehealingroseco.com and use the promo code SAGAS at checkout for 10% off your purchase. To the many martial artists, entrepreneurs, dreamers, and thinkers, how often, for your own sake, would you love a symbolic reminder of your mentality and the perfect dichotomy to match? Murder Nerd is an independent clothing apparel line that represents the sharp, relentless focus towards personal growth and athletics. It embodies the vitality of their creative owners and the network of people who run on the same frequency. Why not elevate your frequency in comfort and style? Visit www.murdernerdsfitness.com for their personal line of shirt and hat wear. Enter the promo code SAGAS, S-A-G-A-S, for 10% off your purchase. Again, visit murdernerdfitness.com and enter the promo code SAGAS for 10% off your purchase. Alrighty, my friends, we're at it again. Let's see. So, I want to build off of the last podcast that we did, and I want to build on the idea of the phenomenon of conformity. And I know that that's can be a very broad term, but I want to look at it through the normal lens that we see things, the academic kind of like lens that conformity can be constructed. And also, I'm probably going to throw in a little bit of even my own bro science in here, because I have ideas as to why this idea of just conformity, where it kind of stems from for me, and just this idea of a conditioned aspect to my mind that constantly wants to question a little more. And I know that it comes from a weird place. So, to get into it, it's like, I think to myself sometimes, like, you ask yourself questions like, why do you think this way? Why do you act this way? Blah, 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 blah. And to, for better or for worse, I ask myself that a lot with a lot of weird stuff. And with this one, it's like I've come up with a weird thing where growing up, if there's a figure in your life that you are meant to value and that you're supposed to see in a certain way, in a very positive way, and that when you're young, you see them as the bridge to being, really. You don't know it then, but you take a lot of stock in what adults do and what they say. And for me, because one of the pillars in my life was not a healthy one when I was young, to grow up knowing that an authority figure in my life that I was supposed to care for and love didn't do it very well back to me, and then which also then demonized ideas or kind of ridiculed my character. It does a very weird conditioning as you grow up where, it creates an environment where you have distrust, right? Distrust in that person, distrust in people that mirror that person, and it also conditions early on, if this happens early on in your life, the idea that I have to find a way to not give a shit what this person thinks, and that's not an easy thing to do when you're obviously, if you're young, incredibly insecure, looking for validation and trying to find a way to be yourself and find yourself through the years. And if somebody directly above you in the hierarchies of your family, whether it be your mother or your father, constantly reinforce negative messages, you put yourself in a place where you have to find a way to deal with them and neglect it for a while. And it makes you kind of slowly have to find a way to separate from them. But that crosses over into separating from what other people say to you and think about you. As I grew up, obviously my story with my stepfather and all of the weird conditioning that happened there, that luckily I, got through and did a lot of forgiveness and all that stuff, right? Like, we've gone through that together. We've heard that story. But in there somewhere, it gave birth to this rebellious nature that may have been flavored, obviously, with a bit of kind of really fueled by the fear of insecurity, incredibly insecure, not knowing what to do, how to act. So what I wanted to do was just rebel like fucking crazy, but in a natural way. I didn't want to do anything to intentionally piss anybody off. I just didn't like the idea of what I thought looked like structure, maybe in the world, I guess, because it didn't feel like it felt like structure was broken in my house, and so it's, believe me, this is kind of like I said, it's kind of on the fly, but it's, I have felt this way, where my past has kind of conditioned and created the filter in which I take in information. And I feel like from an early age, I've seen authority as something that's more of something that needs to be questioned, and that also that I had a little bit of a vendetta towards, an animosity towards. I didn't like it. And I know that, maybe deep down psychologically, that's like a transference thing, right? I think that's what that's called. Where like when something happens in your life and it creates this character that you like or don't like, that character then now manifests in like other people or other things, right? And this is kind of my whole fucking deal with this president situation that we had. But that's something else. So it's like early on, I felt this, I lived it out, and yeah, I'm not, a lot of shit is kind of embarrassing to me now, but I see that it was just me just not giving a fuck and trying to figure my way through growing up, right? Listening to heavy music, knowing that people thought that it was weird, thought that it was kind of too aggressive, thought that maybe I'd get ridiculed over it. You can't understand the lyrics. I don't like the imagery, all the black shirts. Fuck, man, I went so deep into, I had braids, I did the bandanas. I went through like the 6 months when I was 13 years old or 12 years old of like the chokers, the chains, the fucking hell, even the black makeup, right? I wanted to look like I was in a fucking, new metal, black metal fucking scene thing, whatever you want to call it. Some people call it the goth thing. It wasn't goth for me. It was all just, it was in a way a big fuck you to a lot of things and ideas. And it also came from a place that wanted to protect myself, right? If I looked a certain way, people would leave me the fuck alone because I was hurt, But there's still something in that because it was conditioned so early on to have an animosity towards something, a certain figure in the hierarchy. It's echoed as I've gotten older, and it just never went away. And I think it's actually gotten harder and harder. Or more developed, I guess. More developed in a way that I cross that over to a lot of things in my life. And there are only so many ways in which you can question things, right, in your adulthood. But I still do that. And also trying to develop other parts of my thinking so I don't become so blind to this question all authority, run myself off the rails kind of shit, don't listen to anybody, don't know what's good for me type of behavior. Because that's what it can turn into, You let that middle finger attitude run wild, you're not even going to know what's good for you. You're going to get in trouble, you're going to do all these different things. And, so it's just it's another part of, in my mind, the psyche that should be developed, and I'm sure there's a lot of paths to developing this non-conformity, I guess, kind of way of looking at stuff, which is healthy. And it's like, it's hard because even if you want to, there are multiple waves that you kind of have to swim against, right? All through school. Sit the fuck down. Sit in that chair. Don't say this. Don't do that. Are you trying to be funny? The moment you raise your hand, you say something weird. Even as you get older, not even elementary school, you want to question the teachers, they'll take it as a slight. They'll take it as something you're intentionally trying to embarrass them, right? You want to get out of line. Are you rewarded for it? No, you're sent to fucking detention, right? I've had my own instances. Shit, I never used to get in trouble. And then I realized that the moment you actually start saying shit to a teacher, they're ready to come after you. You can't even You can't ask anything. I used to have, what would you call it? Band in school, right? I had band practice. The moment I would start questioning the substitute teacher that was filling in about something that we were doing and how maybe that doesn't make sense or whatever, nobody saw, that guy didn't see that as something that was like an invitation into discussion, right? This guy was probably just beaten down by a bunch of fucking degenerates because he was a substitute teacher and somebody wanted to throw some shade his way and make a laugh, you know, whatever. I kind of don't blame him in a way, but that wasn't my intention. And I saw right away, it was just like, no, shut your mouth, get up, get out, don't come back for the rest of the class. I'm like, I had a fucking question. And then a suggestion. That's all that it was. I wasn't trying to be smart or anything like that. But it's, you know, it's, and listen, this isn't a thing on education as a whole. But if you're in tune to history, I mean, we are riding a ripple from like the end of World War II, right? Where we kind of had to engineer public schools so that we could create good servants for the Industrial Revolution, right? Shut your mouth, take this test, so that when you get out of here, you know how to follow rules by pulling that lever, cranking that thing, pushing that button, and that's your life. That's your livelihood. That's how you make money, right? We condition you at an early on to be able to stay in your lane so that you can thrive in the lane that you get to maybe have if you get out of this whole education process, right? And I know things are changing now, and I have higher education teachers that are friends that explain to me some of the amazing things that they're doing now. So it's very different. But the things that they do tell me, that whole conformity shit, it leaks right into academia too. They want to what would you call it, bend the envelope, right? They want to do something new. They want to do something innovative. They get so much resistance all through their school saying, no, don't bother, don't do this, don't do that. We don't want to push any buttons. It's working the way it works. It goes everywhere. It leaks into everything. So it's shut your mouth, do what I tell you, and then when you graduate, you're into another system that says, shut your mouth, do what we tell you because we know better, and rinse and repeat, keep going. It's everything. And why you don't say anything? It's a lot of reasons, right? Fear of being an outcast. Fear of what you may think your status will be socially, right? I get it. It's you don't want to be wrong too, right? That's the big one. Well, I want to think in a different way. I want to ask this question: what can we do? But if it fucks everything up, you're then embarrassed, right? And that's a whole nother thing in itself, is being okay with failure, being okay with just trying new things, right? Instead of just kind of being some kind of peg in a wheel of a system that just says, yeah, you'll do great as long as you just sit still and stay in your lane. And I get it and I don't get it, right? I get how it happens. I don't get how we can live our entire fucking lives like this. Because it goes everywhere. It goes from school, then it goes from to your job, right? And then it goes into how you even try to build what you think is a certain sense of individuality, right? And this is where branding and marketing and all this shit comes into play, right? Look at cars, right? Look at BMW. BMW used to be the prestigious, wealthy person's vehicle, right? And now it's like because enough people get them that aren't wealthy, it's now associated with another class of people, right? You got a motherfucker who wants to just impress everybody for no reason with this 180,000 mile 2015 Beamer. Looks nice, but the thing's about to blow up, and he only bought it for 10 grand, right? So the conformity is at play there because they think that the vehicle will give them status. And then the conformity comes into play with the wealthy person who doesn't want to buy the BMW anymore because of its association, right? Oh, I'm not going to do that. It's off to the Lexus now for me. You know, why? Because of conformity. You conform into what you think it projects as a status, right? And it's beautifully engineered, marketing-wise. You know, it works every time. It works in everything. You conform to wearing makeup. You conform to a certain haircut. You conform to all these clothes. I conform to watching certain types of TV shows, thinking certain thoughts. I conform to a certain type of political party. And it's like, if you never get any resistance anywhere for anything that you do or anything that you say, do you not ever, like, does that not ever bring up a fucking flashing bulb of this idea that, am I making all the right choices? Or, like, are all these choices just easy? They're just very easy, right? No resistance. I'm good. I'm safe, right? You cannot point me out in a crowd, in a sea of people. This is wonderful. I don't want the attention. And it just goes on and on and on through all these different avenues as you live your life. And, you know, it's like the dangers of these things is like the more that you conform, the more that you are comfortable with conformity when you don't even think that you're doing it. It's like what it gives birth to are things like polarization, right? This is what you get with like political parties, right? I conform to this ideology. I conform to that. And then the more you conform, the more you kind of build that ideology within the camp, and now you've created a polarization between subsets of people. Or, to bring it back to the last podcast, you conform to what everyone says around you that they feel is good for you, that they feel what you should believe. If you get sick, do this. If you feel ill, if you can't get rid of something, talk to this person, right? And when you have the added situation of feeling like shit and not knowing what to do, you put all your eggs in the basket of authority. Help me. What do I do? This is an emergency. Where do I go? And time again, you will find all of these situations where when we just fall in line and listen to the authority figures that dictate our health and our future, you're just put into a cycle, and the wheel goes round and around and around, where you get to see one specialist who doesn't know, and another specialist who doesn't know, and another specialist who doesn't know, until you go back and around and around and around. And I've seen it 1,000,000 times, until eventually something triggers them to break away. It's almost like you have to suffer enough with the circumstance to be able to say, all right, this is enough. I'm playing a game of insanity because I'm thinking that I'm going to do something and I'm going to get a different result, and I'm not. And no, again, it's stupid that I even have to say this, but I'm not throwing out all of the greatness of what our system has to offer us right now. But the phenomenon of conformity is in everything. And it's hard to see when you're engaging in it. And even harder to see if it's serving you or not serving you. Out of fear, right? It's always about fear. I mean, on an evolutionary scale, it's like fear, which then got us to conform, was healthy for a while. Oh my God, lion, run. So all 5 of us run, thank God. We take off, and 2 of us don't even know that there's a lion. We're just running because 3 of you ran. So I'm going with you because you're signaling a survival mechanism in me. I got to get the fuck out of here. But now we're dealing with billions of people and all of the different, the web of influence that happens in all of the just different ways in which we think. Cultures, religions, politics, identity, the makeup of your character because of all the individual different circumstances you grew up with, right? They all accumulate to kind of create this soup. And now it's like, well, I don't know what is a good thing to conform to. Should I do this? Should I do that? I'm not getting ridiculed. I'm not getting this, so this must be the right thing. And then even if you know that you're just kind of going with the herd, you're engaging in like a self-censoring, self-suppression. Right? I mean, a good sign that you're just going along with a lot of shit that doesn't serve you is a heavy weight of unhappiness, right? I've had this, right? Even if you haven't had this, congratulations. But I know plenty of people that have had this. But just that moment of waking up, and sometimes it's just one day, or it can be consecutive days, where you wake up and you're just like, you feel it. You feel that you're on. You feel the rat race, right? You feel that little fucking mouse treadmill that you're on. And you wake up and you're like, I'm doing this again? This again? The same fucking pajamas, the same fucking alarm sound, the same routine, getting the coffee. It's the same shit. And it's not constant, right? Because we have all these mechanisms to kind of pull it back, or else we'd all be jumping off cliffs here. But I think that that's a common thing. And when that happens, it's like, sometimes it wakes you up out of freaking you out that you're just going with the motions, not making enough decisions for yourself, not listening to a piece of your intuition that wants to break out, do something else, say something else, question something else, to satisfy that deeply curious part of your mind that you lose as you get older. How curious are you when you're a child? It's amazing. And when you're a child, you ask all the right questions, and eventually you just stop. You ask all the right questions, you make all the right things, you engage in all the right things. The awe of novelty in everything. And through one way or another, or a million different ways, it gets beat out of you. To just kind of turn into this walking fucking bag of flesh that they've designated consumer number 7 billion fucking 893 million blah 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 blah, right? The moment you get out, up, get into this, up, buy this, yep, this toy, this show, that show. Sit down, do this, do that. Want to be cool? Get the Nikes. Want to be stupid? Buy this. Want to look poor? You wear that. Everything. Everything. Down to the fucking bread that you buy. Everything. There's just so many weird, escapable things that are constantly telling you that you're not good enough. Which breaks down your intuition to start to think differently. And we don't want people to think differently because we have good systems in place. And the systems let the world run at a certain pace, right? The classes that have all the influence and all the power, they're in very comfortable positions. We don't want shit to change, right? And some people thrive. Some people thrive in following everything that this life has told you to do, right? Shut your mouth, get your education, don't say shit. And when you're in your nice house with your bank account looking the way it does, how do you disagree? Right? You've just won the game that's in the game. And then also contributed to less movement, in my opinion, about very important things. Whether it's societal issues, cultural issues, individual issues, you know. It's like your silence is a reflection of your fear. Because we care what other people think of us. And in this day and age, how could you not care? You say one thing and you're called this thing or that thing. Or how about if we get, the fucking hypersensitive mob out? We could get the hypersensitive mob after you and make it so that you don't fucking work again. How about that? So there's no incentive to ask questions and think for yourself. Because if there was, I think there'd be more accountability towards the upper echelon of this hierarchy that we just allow to fucking run amok on our health, on our psyche, on this little fart of a life that you get. Who wants to live as a minion to all of these entities? We do it voluntarily. And it's like whether I'm riding the echo of my own circumstance when I was a child that has pushed me into this place of kind of giving half a middle finger to a lot of ideas. Whether it's that or it's a game of grabbing that energy and trying to help it bloom in a mature way. Maybe through meditation, maybe through how to cultivate intuition, right? Finding a way to understand that, yeah, maybe I do know better in this situation. Maybe I do know better. And it's like, I don't know if it leads to a healthy amount of non-conformist thinking, but the meditations, these self-practice things, they cultivate, they break down all these mechanisms of fear. And that fear leaks into the fear of being ostracized, of being thrown out of the tribe because of a certain way of looking at things or thinking. So maybe if we sit down and practice some of these things that help us dive into, these chambers of our own mind so that we can kind of understand these, disassociate, recalibrate, come back, and look at the world through a healthier lens, which then breaks down that fear, we can then embrace this idea of questioning something even if people will start to question you. Because we let a lot of shit slip by since we've been doing this as a group, a very large group. And it's got to be in a healthy dose. Like everything else, this mentality can be hijacked by fucking weirdos, right? Bad characters, bad representations. And even that is a piece that feeds the fear mechanism in some people, including me. The not wanting to associate with fucking idiots who might have a certain piece of their opinion screwed on right? I just gotta not care. We just gotta not care. Or else it's just gonna perpetuate a lot of things that just we will continue to not have control over. This is a short life. And it's just getting weirder and weirder as I get older. I'm more equipped to handle it, but it gets weirder and weirder. Because I feel that I see a little more. My peripheral opens up. Which means I kind of have to be more willing to be able to stand in the face of a degree of ridicule. Over wanting to even have a question about something that's going on. I've had to question everything. With this circumstance, for me personally, the runaround that we've had to do with our health has forced us to question more and more and more and more. And even that in itself has conditioned a healthy amount of trusting my intuition in trying to help my wife feel better. Instead of just conforming to the idea of see this person and get the 10th fucking pill shoved down your throat. That most likely is going to hurt you. So, whether it's through meditation or a self-caring practice or a circumstance, I guess, that kind of catapults you into this place of just being dissatisfied with the ride so far, I think it's a good thing to stand up to certain levels of authority in a very tactical and good way, right? I'm not talking about the fucking spoiled kid who likes to spit in the face of a police officer. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about asking questions about the hired chimpanzees that we voted into office, even when we voted for them, and even when our friends around us will kind of raise an eyebrow to what we want to say. You lose control if we start thinking in that way. Your life is not yours anymore then. I think. I don't know. I don't know. But, yeah, I don't know. That's where we're at. Kind of a little bit of a cloud of chaos the last couple of weeks. And this is kind of what's been bubbling. And I was like, you know what? Let's get on this. Because like I said, these I know these come out kind of weird. And in a way, I've had these. it's been on my mind. It's been in my mind. And the nice thing is that when I'm done recording these things, I understand it even more, because there aren't a lot of people that I can actually like sit down, throw this at, and see what they volley back to me, or if they just give me the space to be able to explain the whole thing. Saying it out loud is very helpful, but in doing it in this kind of first time around way, it's there's going to be hiccups in this train of thought, but I think it's still very healthy, and it's very helpful to me to be able to throw this big of a thing against the wall and see what I can get to stick, because I want a lot of it to stick. And in the end, I can kind of compartmentalize this whole big thought a little better, and hopefully serve myself and people around me better. So, all right, guys, that's it. Damn, it's hot. All right, peace and love.